greatest tricks the CIA ever pulled was convincing the American people that socialism doesn't work. You've probably heard it. You've probably heard people be like, socialism sounds great on paper, but it never works.
Yep.
This is always super interesting to me when I hear this, because I always follow it up with a follow-up question. I go, what's your metric for something working? What metric are you using for success?
All right, folks, buckle up, because today we're diving into the wildest corner of the internet. Woke TikTok. Specifically, the dumb socialist edition. Yeah, that's right. People who think Karl Marx was basically the OG influencer. Except instead of selling you skincare routines, he's selling you breadlines. And let me tell you, this stuff gets dumber by the second. So, picture this. Someone pops up on TikTok, all confident, all fired up, saying, one of the greatest tricks the CIA ever pulled was convincing Americans that socialism doesn't work. And immediately I'm like, hold on, pause. What? The CIA? That's who we're blaming now. Not the actual 100 million people who starved, froze, or got thrown in gulags. No. Apparently, it's all just some giant CIA prank. Amazing.
Because I personally have run a business on a socialist platform for the past coming up on 11 years. Everyone who works at the company gets equal pay. We don't operate on a for-profit model. We try to break even when there is profit, though. We distribute it up amongst the employees equally. And the business might fail, for sure. Businesses fail. But if it does fail, it will not be because of how payroll was distributed or because we had workplace democracy.
No, well, no, actually it is.
It will be because of our need to compete on a free market system.
But wait, what's your metric for success? The classic trick. When reality doesn't back you up, just start playing word games. What's your metric? How about not collapsing, starving millions, or turning into a dictatorship overnight? I think that's a pretty decent metric. Then she tries to back it up with her own little experiment. She says, well, I run a business on a socialist platform.
That if you and your friends decide that you're going to open a business and then you distribute the profits equally, that doesn't make you socialist. You're running inside a free market system. Where do you think your money is coming from? Is the government giving you your money? Was there a nationalization of resources?
No, sweetheart. That just proves you're voluntarily splitting profits inside a capitalist system. You're still competing in a free market, buying from suppliers, selling to customers, paying taxes. Nothing about that makes it socialism. That's like saying, if I give my buddy a slice of pizza, boom, communism achieved. Congratulations, comrade. We've done it.
Every time somebody suggests free healthcare, fair wages, affordable housing, politicians and billionaires scream, oh my God, socialism, communism, end of days. What? Have you ever stopped to ask, why do they want you to fear socialism so badly?
It stinks.
What? Because the truth is, they're already using it for themselves. What is socialism really? The definition is a system where resources and industry serve the public.
And let's be real for a second. She admits the business might fail, and if it does, she blames the free market for being too competitive. Translation: our socialist experiment failed because capitalism exists. Yeah, because socialism can't survive without capitalism propping it up every single time. But wait, it gets better. Another TikToker pops up all serious, saying,
worker protections, universal health care, education without lifelong debt, and wages that keep up with inflation. It sounds pretty good, right? But that's not the version they sell us. We know that. The richest 1% hoard 90% of the wealth.
Good
They don't want you asking why they get tax breaks while you struggle.
No. Okay, stop it.
What?
First of all, no. That's just factually wrong. Second of all, hoard? What are they doing? Stuffing billion-dollar bills under their mattresses like Scrooge McDuck. Wealth isn't just cash. It's stocks, businesses, investments. And guess what? Those things don't just sit there. They generate jobs, products, and yes, taxes. And before you scream tax the rich, here's the kicker. The top 50% of earners pay literally 100% of net taxes in this country. The bottom half pays basically nothing. So no, Jeff Bezos isn't stealing your lunch money.
There's this idiot idea that is promoted by socialists that essentially there's a fixed pie. If you take the fixed pie and you divvy it up in equal parts, everybody will be happier. But the pie isn't fixed. That's the whole reason socialism is a giant fail. It is a redistribution of resources that are already on the table, and that generally has to manifest as a nationalization of the industries themselves. Otherwise, it turns out there are winners and losers in a meritocracy.
Now here's where it goes completely off the rails. Some guy says, name a country where socialism worked. And another genius replies, Vietnam.
No country where socialism worked. Okay, it seemed to work in Vietnam really great, actually.
No. What no.
What are you talking
about?
Vietnam literally had to embrace capitalism in the 90s just to get out of poverty. Their life expectancy, GDP, technology, all of it skyrocketed after they ditched socialism. But sure, tell me again how the rice fields under collectivization were just thriving, and then, as if that wasn't bad enough, someone tries to blame capitalism for the Vietnamese famine in the 1940s.
They never had a famine. Oh, except for the one that killed 2 million people under capitalist rule.
What the?
They never had a famine. Oh, except for the one that killed 2 million people under capitalist rule. What? Sorry, check your history. That famine happened under Japanese occupation, which was a fascist, imperialist regime with centralized control. Not capitalism.
2 million people under capitalist rule.
Okay, so, hold up. He is talking about, I assume, the Vietnamese famine of 1944 to 45. That'd be the Vietnamese famine that killed 2 million people. When it was under occupation by Japan.
Bing, bing, bong, bong, bing, bing, bing. You know what that is, right?
An imperialist fascist state with a centralized economy.
And calling the Khmer Rouge's genocide in Cambodia a liberation? Excuse me, that's not liberation. That's mass murder. Millions dead.
They repelled their French colonizers. They successfully defended against the United States invasion. They defended against Chinese invasion. And they liberated Cambodia.
Liberated Cambodia? Like Pol Pot killed 1 million people.
But hey, as long as you can put it in a TikTok with pastel colors and ukulele music, suddenly it's revolutionary. Next up, China. Oh boy, here we go. Another TikToker proudly declares, socialism lifted 800 million people out of poverty.
Name a single country where socialism worked. Okay, China.
China!
In China, socialism lifted over 800
No, you stupid mother...
Name a single country where socialism worked. Okay, China. China. In China, socialism lifted over 800 million people out of poverty. No, you stupid mother. Wrong. China starved under Mao. 40 million people dead during the Great Leap Forward. It wasn't until Deng Xiaoping introduced capitalist reforms, opening markets, allowing private property, encouraging foreign trade, that China's economy exploded. Everything good you see in modern China, the skyscrapers, the manufacturing boom, the tech, it's all thanks to capitalism.
It wasn't until the Chinese began to embrace capitalism in the 1990s and 2000s that they started to see a massive increase in their GDP per capita.
Not socialism. Without capitalism, China would still be stuck in the nightmare of Mao's utopia. But you can't tell that to TikTok socialists. They just keep shifting the definition.
It was the largest and fastest quality of life improvement in human history. What?
What?
China's capitalist now. All of China's prosperity happened because China introduced capitalist free markets. Markets aren't actually what makes an economy capitalist.
Here's the definitional shifting. Here we go.
According to Karl Marx, it all has to do with private versus public ownership. Socialism is the process of transferring privately owned companies to the public, controlling them with a worker state. And a staggering 60% of China's market capitalization is owned by public, state-owned enterprises.
No, that's state capitalism.
When you point out the gulags, they say, that wasn't real socialism. When you point out China, they say, well, actually, it's state capitalism, but that still counts. No, it doesn't. If you have to redefine your ideology every 5 minutes just to make it sound appealing, maybe the ideology isn't as great as you think. Now, let's talk Alaska. Someone smugly says, Alaskans get a check every year from the government. That's socialism.
But socialism could never work in America, right?
Right.
Tell that to Alaska. Every single year, Alaskans get a check from the government just for living there. It's called the Permanent Fund Dividend, and it's literally oil money.
Huh? Oil?
Split up and handed out to every resident. Big Oil writes a check to the people. You know what that is? Wealth redistribution. Funded by natural resources, administered by the state.
God,
In
okay,
other words,
stop.
Alaska is sitting on a mountain of black gold, and the state decided to cut residents in on a little slice of it. That's not socialism. It's dividends. And even then, we're talking about like $1,600 a year. That doesn't exactly cover rent, food, and Netflix. It's a bonus, not a system.
There is a dividend that you receive. It's like a permanent oil fund dividend you get if you're a citizen of Alaska. It amounts to approximately $1,500, $1,600, $1,700 per year in Alaska.
Lisa, I want some more.
What's the median household income in Alaska? Wait for it, wait for it, wait for it. $88,000. So no, it turns out that Alaska doesn't run on socialism. You get a tiny little check every year Because Alaska is very oil rich in the same way that Norway has a gigantic sovereign wealth fund, and they fund a lot of what they are doing because they nationalize their oil industry and then subsidize the rest of what they're doing with it. But Norway is a capitalist country, same thing, except much less so with Alaska.
And here's another one. Since 1979, worker productivity has gone up 86%, but wages only 32%. See? Capitalism is broken.
You know how when you get better at your job and you get more productive, you don't make any more money? Your boss makes more money?
No.
And you don't get to leave early, they just give you more work. Yeah, democratic socialism would fix that. I first heard about democratic socialism 10 years ago with Bernie Sanders.
Hey, I've seen this one. This is a classic.
There was a lot of fear-mongering then, and there's a lot of fear-mongering now, and a lot of it is based on just outright lies. So in a nutshell, democratic socialism is a political democracy and a socially owned economy. You know how we say, we the people have the power of the government? That idea of we the people would also apply to the economy. Think about how fucked up it is that since 1979, worker productivity has gone up 86%, but pay has only gone up 32%. We, the workers, are 86% more productive, but we only get paid 32% more. And that's by design.
You're more productive today not because you're working harder, but because technology makes you more efficient. A single worker with a laptop today can do the work of 10 people in 1979. The irony is so thick you could cut it with a hammer and sickle. And let's not forget, capitalism isn't perfect. Nobody's saying it is. But unlike socialism, capitalism corrects itself. People innovate, create, compete, and yeah, sometimes they fail. But out of that failure comes progress. That's why we went from horse-drawn carriages to Teslas, from telegrams to iPhones, from waiting a week for a letter to FaceTiming across the world instantly. That's capitalism at work. So next time you hear someone on TikTok crying about socialism, just ask them one simple question. If it's so great, why does every country that tries it eventually abandon it for capitalism? Watch them squirm. Watch them redefine terms, dodge questions, or just scream CIA propaganda. Because deep down, they know the truth. Socialism doesn't work. Never has, never will. And if you enjoyed this takedown of woke TikTok socialism, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe for more, and drop a comment below. Tell me, what's the dumbest socialist argument you've ever heard? I want to hear it, because trust me, there's plenty out there.